Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today, we're going to be going over the top 5 classic Mafia vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online. Now these vehicles are from several different... As I was saying, the vehicles that are going to be in this video are going to be from multiple different eras. So some of them are going to be from the 30s, all the way up to the 80s. Unfortunately, it's only the top 5, so I didn't really have room to put in a bunch of cars on this list. There's a couple cars that I actually wanted to put on this list, but I couldn't actually find or gain access to them. So we'll have to leave those for part 2. Anyway guys, let's get right into the list, starting off with number 5.
It's not looking good.
So guys, starting off with number 5, we have the Declassy Gang Burrito. Now the Gang Burrito is, I believe, from the 80s. There's a lot of things about this thing that just sort of seem like it's an 80s vehicle to me. So I figured it was deserving of being on this list because every good mafia needs a vehicle to transport their goods in. So this thing has ample room in the back of it to actually be able to transport large quantities of potentially illegal substances or illegal goods. It can also seat 4, and 2 players can actually sit in the back of it and fire machine guns out of it if need be. Of course, the Mafia only operates within the law, so you probably wouldn't ever need to do that, but if you ever did need to do it, it's an ability. Don't even worry about it. Now the Gang Burrito is actually a lot faster than you would think too. This thing actually has pretty decent acceleration and it has even better handling. So it makes a very good vehicle. You can even probably run away from the cops in this thing, although it might take a little more effort with this than maybe with some other vehicles. Regardless, I thought it was a appropriate vehicle to add to this list. I think you guys will agree, hopefully. If not, let me know what I should replace it with in the comments down below. Anyway guys, let's move right into number 4. Alright guys, next up at number 4 we have the Declassy Rancher XL. Now this, similar to the Gang Burrito, is also for transporting larger items, but also what I was thinking with this thing is for off-road adventures where you may or may not have to go and bury something out in the middle of nowhere. The Rancher XL is an excellent vehicle for doing this. It was actually the getaway vehicle that Michael and Trevor used in the epilogue to GTA 5's campaign. So the Rancher XL is certified, at least in GTA 5. It's a 4-seater, of course, as well. And like I said, there is ample room in the back for, things that may need to get buried. Whether that be, potentially illegal goods or potentially dead people. You could probably fit both. So the Rancher XL is a pretty solid vehicle for that. Not to mention it is a very, very capable off-road vehicle. It can pretty much take you anywhere you need to go. You could easily get to the top of Mount Chiliad using this thing as long as you follow the trail. It's an excellent vehicle. It also looks really cool, and in black I could imagine it would probably look even better. Obviously mine is in a darker gray, but in black I think it would fit the Mafia look pretty darn well. Anyway guys, I think that's pretty much it for number 4. Let's move on and get right into number 3. Alright guys, next up we have the Benefactor Glendale. Now this thing is more for the mid-level guys in the Mafia. Could also be used to transport the boss around, something like that, but it is also just a very good casual transport for 4 people to get around from place to place to do, Mafia business. Obviously this thing's not going to be taking you off-road, which is why we needed the Rancher XL at the last spot, because this thing is obviously only meant for on-road. Now it's classy enough that you could probably, take it to pick up the mob boss if you needed to, but it's also subtle enough that it won't attract too much attention. Now the Glendale is actually a pretty fast car as well. It handles nicely, could be a little bit better, but it handles pretty decently, it's not bad. And it's just got those classic sleek looks that you, as a Mafia man, would want in a car that you were going to be driving. The Glendale is an absolute classic. You can't really go wrong with this thing. Obviously mine's done in all black and I think it looks fantastic. And it is actually a pretty cheap vehicle, similar to the last 2. This thing only costs $200,000, which is not honestly that bad in GTA Online these days. Anyway guys, I think that's pretty much it for number 3. It's time to get into the top 2. Let's move in to number 2 right now. Alright guys, next up at number 2, we have the Enas Stafford. Now this car is for when the boss wants a night out on the town, and he wants to arrive in pure luxury. The Enas Stafford is based off of a older Rolls Royce. It's absolutely a classic looking vehicle. It actually drives a lot nicer than you would think too. It's quite quick, it handles nicely. Really no complaints about the performance of this thing. You could definitely outrun the police if need be, or any pursuing foes that you might have picked up along the way when you're driving the boss around, or something like that. This can double as just a classic, luxury old vehicle in your collection too. It doesn't have to be just a Mafia vehicle, obviously. You could definitely take this thing to a classic car meet and people would be pretty impressed. I don't honestly ever see anyone driving the Enas Stafford in-game. Obviously, it's GTA Online. People are flying around on their Mark IIs just lasering everything. So you wouldn't see it very often. But I feel like you wouldn't see it very often at a car meet either. And for that reason, you could definitely take this thing and I think you would show out. Now, of course, this thing does actually seat 4 people. It's always good to be able to carry, you know, a few extra crewmates in there if you need to. If you really wanted to with this thing too, you could go out and do some drive-bys. Not that, you know, Mafia people do that, but if you needed to, hey man, this thing can do it. This thing can do it all. It's a great vehicle. I would highly recommend picking this thing up, regardless of if you're going to use it as a Mafia vehicle or not. It's a fantastic car. You should definitely pick up an Enas Stafford. Anyway guys, that's it for number 2. Let's move right into number 1. Alright guys, and at number 1 we have the Albany Roosevelt. This thing is an absolute classic Mafia vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online. I can remember all the way back when this thing first came out in, I believe, early 2014. My friends and I all getting into our Mafia suits, all of us picking up the Gothenburg sweeper and going out on this thing and absolutely tearing. Now, the cool thing about the Roosevelt is that you can actually have people standing out on these sideboards here. I'm going to try to demonstrate it for you guys. I don't think that I can actually do it because I'm playing solo right now. But if I had somebody driving the car, I'm pretty sure if I was to hold F, I would stand on top of one of those sideboards there, and I could actually have a gun in one hand and be shooting off of the car as it's driving. Kind of like the Noose guys do on the SWAT team Grangers when you get up to 4 stars. So it's very, very cool. Obviously, it's also a 4-seater. So, you know, you can fit a decent amount of players in here. It's got this big trunk on the back for transporting. Probably with this car in this era, probably some prohibition liquor or something like that. It's got the spare tire on it and everything too. This thing is just an absolute classic. I think that everybody should buy one of these, especially if you're trying to do, you know, some older Mafia activities. Like if you're trying to, you know, pretend you're in the 30s or something like that. The Roosevelt is a great car to do that with. This thing is awesome. I would highly, highly recommend that everybody picks one of these things up. They're actually relatively cheap. I want to say they're less than $500,000. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure if they're not below 500K, they're below $1 million. And for the price, it's a pretty cool car. Not a lot of customization with this thing, obviously. There's not a lot that, you know, they changed back then, I guess. So, you know, that reflects that with the car in GTA. But it's definitely one that you will want to pick up if you don't have one already. Anyway guys, I think that is pretty much it for the list. Let me know what you thought on my list in the comments down below. What cars would you take off and what cars would you add to my list? Leave suggestions for part 2 of this video in the comments down below. I'm looking to make a part 2 to this, so if you guys have any ideas, let me know in the comments down below. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed the video, if you learned something, leave a like, if not dislike. Subscribe if you guys are new, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.